Have you ever spent an hour scrolling for a movie only to end up too tired to watch anything at all? That same decision paralysis is sabotaging your career and killing your ability to execute meaningful progress. We are dissecting exactly how to eliminate choice fatigue and rebuild your clarity for action. Elias sits in a dark room, illuminated only by the clinical blue light of 3 massive computer monitors reflecting in his tired eyes. His fingers hover over a mechanical keyboard, poised to type, but they remain frozen like a statue in an abandoned gallery. On his primary screen, 42 open browser tabs form a jagged mountain range of unread articles and half-watched tutorials. He is a 32-year-old architectural designer who has spent the last 18 months researching how to start his own firm without ever drawing a single line. The camera of his mind pans over his bookshelf, filled with pristine, uncracked spines of productivity guides and the biographies of titans. Elias is the king of the saved folder, a digital hoarder of potential who believes that one more piece of data will finally grant him the courage to act. He looks at an empty CAD file on his screen, a vast white void that feels like a physical weight pressing against his chest. Outside his window, the city pulse continues, cars moving toward destinations, while he remains anchored to a swivel chair that costs more than his first car. He tells himself he is being diligent, but the truth is he is drowning in the shallow water of his own over-analysis. He represents every one of us who has ever scrolled through a streaming menu for a new hour until the desire to watch anything at all has evaporated. This is the relatable problem solver's curse, where the search for the perfect option becomes a sophisticated execution of self-sabotage. Elias picks up a high-end stylus, feels its balanced weight, and then sets it back down because he isn't sure if the latest software update is stable yet. He is optimizing for a perfection that doesn't exist, treating his life like a laboratory experiment where any variable of failure must be eliminated. The opportunity cost of his silence is a graveyard of buildings that will never be built and clients who will never be helped. He opens Instagram and sees a former classmate posting a photo of a messy, half-finished construction site with a caption about learning on the job. A sharp pang of envy strikes his heart, followed immediately by a wave of condescension as he critiques the classmate's suboptimal workflow. He convinces himself that his delay is a sign of superior standards, but his bank account and his empty portfolio tell a much harsher story. The modern world has sold us the lie that information is power, but Elias is proof that information without implementation is just heavy luggage. He spends 4 hours comparing 2 different types of project management software, reading thousands of user reviews across 3 different forums. By the time he reaches a conclusion, the sun is beginning to peek through his blinds, and he is too exhausted to actually manage a project. He has fallen into the trap of the best route, ignoring the fact that the most effective route is almost always the one you are currently standing on. Every minute he spends calculating the risk of a mistake is a minute he has already lost to the certainty of stagnation. Social media acts as a digital funhouse mirror for Elias, distorting his sense of reality by showing him everyone else's highlight reels. He compares his day 0 to their year 10, concluding that if he cannot launch at their level, he shouldn't launch at all. This fear of a suboptimal choice has created a total paralysis of the will, turning a talented man into a professional spectator. He remembers a time in childhood when he would just build with blocks, not caring if the tower fell, only caring about the height. Now, as an adult, the fear of the fall is so great that he refuses to even lay the first stone on the ground. He is a victim of choice fatigue, a psychological exhaustion that comes from the endless buffet of better options available at his fingertips. His brain is stuck in a loop of what if, a recursive algorithm that has no exit strategy and no finish line. He looks at his drafting table, which has become a glorified shelf for Amazon boxes and unopened mail. The dust on the surface is a physical clock, measuring the time he has spent waiting for a feeling of readiness that never arrives. He realizes that he treats his career like a movie he can pause, but the theater of life is moving forward whether he is on stage or not. The data he thinks he is gathering by waiting is actually fake data because it lacks the friction of real-world application. He could read 1,000 books on the physics of swimming, but he would still drown the moment he stepped into the deep end. The tragedy of Elias is that he is actually quite brilliant, but his brilliance has become a cage of his own design. He begins to feel a phantom heaviness in his limbs, a psychosomatic response to the massive backlog of unstarted dreams. He decides to brew a third pot of coffee, using the ritual of preparation as one last barrier between himself and the work. The smell of the beans filling the room is a temporary comfort, a small sensory victory in a night of professional defeat. He watches the steam rise and wonders if he is the only one who feels this way, unaware that millions are stuck in the same digital amber. We have become a society of architects who never build, writers who never publish, and lovers who never commit. We are all Elias, staring at the glowing screen, waiting for a sign from the universe that it is safe to proceed. But the universe is silent because it only responds to the sound of movement, not the whisper of intent. Elias suddenly catches his own reflection in the black glass of his monitor and doesn't recognize the man staring back. The reflection looks older, tired, and deeply bored with his own excuses. He remembers the truncated proverb about great minds and realizes he has spent his life being a small mind that never dares to differ. A sudden, violent surge of frustration boils over, and he pushes the expensive ergonomic chair back with a loud screech against the floor. He grabs a simple piece of scrap paper and a cheap ballpoint pen from the kitchen counter. He doesn't look for a ruler. He doesn't check the lighting. He doesn't wait for the right music to play on his speakers. He draws a jagged, imperfect rectangle and labels it entrance, his hand shaking slightly from the sudden rush of adrenaline. The line is crooked, the ink is smearing, and it is the most beautiful thing he has seen in nearly 2 years. He draws another room, then a hallway, then a window that looks out onto a garden he hasn't even imagined yet. The paralysis begins to break, not with a grand epiphany, but with the scratching sound of a pen against a cheap surface. He realizes that the best software was irrelevant. The best chair was a distraction. The best time was 18 months ago. The second best time is right now, in the middle of a messy kitchen with coffee stains on the counter. The fear of a suboptimal choice is still there, but it is being drowned out by the sheer momentum of physical action. He feels the decision fatigue lifting, replaced by a clarity that can only be found in the heat of the moment. By the time the sun is fully up, he has a rough, ugly, and functional floor plan that he can actually show to a human being. His heart is racing, not from anxiety this time, but from the thrill of being a participant in his own life. He understands now that execution is the only true form of research, and failure is just data with a bruise. The opportunity cost of his time is finally being paid back with the currency of experience and the dignity of effort. He shuts down the 3 monitors, their blue glow vanishing like a fever dream that has finally broken. Elias walks to the window and opens it, letting the cold morning air fill his lungs and clear the smell of stale coffee. The city looks different now. It looks like a collection of problems waiting for someone brave enough to offer a messy solution. He is no longer looking for the perfect route. He is looking for the next step, no matter how small or clumsy. He picks up his phone, not to scroll or compare, but to call a contractor he hasn't spoken to in 3 years. The phone rings, and each tone is a heartbeat of a new reality where he is a doer rather than a dreamer. When the voice on the other end answers, Elias doesn't hesitate or apologize for the hour. He simply starts talking about the plan. He is a relatable problem solver who finally decided to solve the problem of his own hesitation. The world doesn't need your perfectly curated plan. It needs your imperfect, living, breathing contribution. Stop the search for the ultimate hack and start the work of the immediate task. You will never think your way into a new life. You have to act your way into a new way of thinking. The weight of your potential is only heavy when it is stationary. Once it moves, it becomes momentum. Elias looks at his scrap of paper and smiles, knowing that this ugly drawing is the foundation of everything to come. He is no longer a scholar of the best way. He is a practitioner of the now way. The tabs stay closed, the folders stay unread, and the desk finally becomes a place of creation rather than contemplation. He has traded the comfort of the spectator for the scars of the player, and he has never felt more alive. Every great achievement started as a suboptimal first draft that someone refused to delete. The trap of optimization is a mirror that shows you what you could be, while stealing the time you need to become it. Break the mirror, pick up the pen, and let the first line be as crooked as it needs to be. Your career, your health, and your happiness are waiting for you on the other side of your next imperfect decision. We are dissecting the anatomy of action to remind you that you are the only one holding the scalpel. Do not let the ghost of perfection haunt the house of your progress any longer. The clock is ticking, the board is set, and it is finally your turn to play a move without checking the rule book. Elias is gone now, replaced by a man who builds, and the city is waiting for the structures he is about to create. The decision paralysis is a shadow that vanishes the moment you turn on the light of pure, unadulterated execution. You have everything you need to begin, and anything you lack will be found along the path of the doing. The only truly bad choice is the one that keeps you standing still in a world that is constantly turning. Choose the messy start over the polished delay every single time the opportunity presents itself. Your future self is not waiting for you to be perfect. They are waiting for you to be brave enough to be wrong. The story of Elias is your story, and the ending is still being written by the actions you take today. If you are ready to stop optimizing and start executing your true potential, subscribe to my channel Deep Mind Portal.